Welcome back to Chasing Shadows. I'm Mark Miners. If you've been with us for a while, you know the deeper we go, the stranger it gets. Tonight, we're leaving the safety of science labs and military bunkers and stepping into the ancient forests of the Appalachian Mountains. These woods are older than civilization, older than most legends, and hidden within their shadows are tales of ghosts, unexplainable creatures, and those who stepped into the trees and never came back. Some call it folklore. Others swear it's something much darker. So throw on your headphones, lock the doors, and listen closely. Because when the forest calls, not everyone comes back. There are places in the Appalachian Mountains where even the GPS gives up. Towns with no cell signal. Trails that twist in on themselves. And silence that presses in like a living thing. For generations, people have gone missing in these woods, often without a trace. Sometimes it's hikers, like Dennis Martin, the 6-year-old boy who vanished in 1969 during a family camping trip in the Great Smoky Mountains. One minute he was playing, the next, gone. Hundreds of searchers combed the woods for weeks. No scent trail. No footprints, not even a scrap of clothing. Then there's Jared Negrete, Trenny Gibson, and countless others cataloged in cases often referred to as Missing 411, a term popularized by former police officer David Paulides, who noticed strange patterns in wilderness disappearances across the U.S., with the Appalachian Mountains being a particular hotspot. Many of these cases defy logic. The missing are found miles from where they vanished, often uphill in a cross-terrain they couldn't possibly navigate. Discovered in inaccessible locations, cliffs, caves, or ledges, without a scratch. Others are never found at all. What's especially chilling is what survivors sometimes say. They speak of hearing voices in the trees, of being watched, of sudden shifts in sound, like the forest itself held its breath. Some remember strange lights. Others describe a feeling, deep, primal, that they were being hunted. And then, there are those who claim it wasn't an animal, or even a person, but something else. Something that mimicked voices. Something that stood just out of sight, in the dark. Imagine this. You're alone on the trail. The forest is still. Then you hear it. A voice calling your name. Familiar. Comforting. Maybe it sounds like your mom, a friend, your partner. But you know, they aren't out here. That's the thing about mimics. They don't chase. They don't pounce. They lure. Across Appalachia, stories abound of something in the woods that can copy human voices. It calls out from the trees, sounding like a loved one. It may cry for help, or call your name, just once. Just enough to make you step off the path. Some say it's a creature. Others think it's the forest itself, alive and aware. One Reddit user from North Carolina described hiking alone when he heard his father's voice calling him. A father who had been dead for years. When he turned toward the sound, he saw something tall, pale, and very wrong step behind a tree and vanish. Reports like this are common, especially at dusk. A sudden silence falls over the forest. The birds stop. The bugs stop. And then, the voice. It always comes when you're alone, when you're tired, when you're just lost enough to believe. Folklore across the region tells us, don't follow voices in the woods. Don't respond to something that shouldn't be there. And never whistle at night. They say whistling draws them in. The not quite human things that mimic to hunt. In most of North America, seeing a deer is a moment of calm, something almost magical. But not here. Not in Appalachia. Because out here, you might see the not deer. It looks almost right. 4 legs, antlers, a deer-like shape, but its legs bend the wrong way. Its eyes face forward like a predator. It moves like it's learning to walk for the first time, or remembering how it used to. And sometimes it watches you. Too still, too long. And then it vanishes, faster than anything on 4 legs should. The not deer isn't just a viral cryptid. It's part of a much older fear. The fear of something pretending to belong just long enough to get close. Like the pale ones, said to wander the Blue Ridge, tall, white-skinned figures with no face and no sound. Or the stump-legged creatures of Cherokee lore that whisper in circles until you're lost forever. Locals have a name for these things. The old ones. The forest folk, or simply them. And there are rules, passed down quietly. Unwritten laws of survival for those who grow up near these woods. Don't go outside after dark, even on your own land. Don't speak your name aloud where the trees can hear. Don't acknowledge a knock at the door if no one should be there. And if you see something watching from the trees, it's best you pretend you didn't. Because if you let it know you saw it, it might not leave you alone. There are places in the Appalachian Mountains that don't show up on maps. Old mining towns that were evacuated, flooded, or just forgotten. Places like Elk Garden, Prosperity, Lost Cove. Ghost towns in name, but not always in population. Some hikers report stumbling across cabins with smoke still rising from their chimneys, miles from the nearest road. No trails, no power, no welcome. And sometimes, someone's watching. There are stories, always whispered, about groups who live out here completely off-grid, not survivalists. People born and raised in isolation, families with no connection to the outside world, and no desire for one. Some call them the feral people. Others say that's just a cover story. That what's really out there was never human to begin with. One rescue worker claimed to have seen eyes watching from trees, too high to belong to a man. Another recalled a search where every compass spun in circles, and the radios went dead, just as the sun dipped below the ridge. And then there's the government presence. Locals speak of heavily restricted zones, places with fences, warnings, and no real explanation. Places where the forest hums unnaturally. Some say these areas house underground listening posts or deep earth military labs. But those who get too close often report the same thing. Quote, I felt sick, dizzy, like the air didn't want me there. A strange vibration in your chest, a pressure behind your eyes, and then nothing but silence. If you ever find yourself in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, you'll notice something strange. The way the fog clings to the streets, even long after the morning breaks. It curls around the stone stairways and drifts through the alleys like it's looking for something. And if you're walking alone near the old railroad tracks, you just might see her. They call her the woman in the fog. Locals say she's been seen for over a century. A pale figure in white, drifting along the banks of the Potomac, just where the town meets the trees. Her eyes are always searching, and she never speaks. Some believe she was a Civil War widow, waiting for a husband who never returned. Others say she was pushed from the cliffs by soldiers, and she's been looking for justice ever since. But some say she isn't a ghost at all. She's a warning. One ranger, back in the early 2000s, claimed he was hiking before sunrise when he saw a woman standing on the tracks, barefoot and soaking wet, staring down the tunnel. He called out, but she didn't move. When he reached the tunnel entrance, she was gone. No footprints, no sound. Just the thick smell of river water and the feeling that someone was still watching. They say if you see the woman, you're not supposed to speak. You turn, you walk the other way, and you don't look back. Because the moment you meet her eyes, she isn't just watching you, she's remembering your face. The Appalachian Mountains are some of the oldest on Earth, older than bones, some say. And maybe that's why the land holds so many secrets. From vanished hikers and mimics in the trees, to feral legends, military fences, and ghosts who still wander the fog. These stories blur the line between myth and memory. What's real? What's imagined? In places this isolated, sometimes that line doesn't matter. Because when you're deep in the woods, truly alone, it doesn't take long to believe that something else might be out there. Something ancient. Something watching. If you enjoyed tonight's story, throw us a like, subscribe, and leave a comment about what you believe is happening in the Appalachian wilds. And next time on Chasing Shadows, we're heading to South America. From ancient Incan cities and mysterious geoglyphs, to whispered stories of underground tunnels, haunted catacombs, and extraterrestrial connections, we're going to explore the strange and powerful energy of Peru. Until then, keep your flashlight close, and don't answer voices calling from the trees.